A few numbers to start today. 71,400 full-time jobs lost in July. But don't worry, we added 40,200 part-time jobs, so the report is a net job loss of 31,200. Worst month since October 2011. Of course, 1 month doesn't tell the whole story, but the economic growth story isn't much rosier. It brings to mind a quote from me by Lawrence J. Peters. You remember him as the author of The Peter Principle. He says, "Sometimes I wonder whether the world is being run by smart people who are putting us on or by imbeciles who really mean it." Well, I'm not sure either, but I do know that the unprecedented steps governments have taken around the world and here in Canada aren't getting it done. I know governments around the world kept promising, hey, we're going to have jobs, we're going to have growth, financial justice, but it's still not working out anywhere. Some economists will point to the States as a bright light. Their job numbers were good on Friday, but I don't buy it. The number of people permanently unemployed is at record levels. There are millions of people who are severely underemployed. Here's a great stat for you. Since 2014, the U.S. has added 500,000 bartenders and waiters, and not a single manufacturing job. When it comes to the unemployment numbers, keep in mind that anyone who's not actively sought a job for a month, i.e. an interview, he's not counted or she's not counted as unemployed. If you get paid for just 1 hour of work during the month, you're not counted as unemployed. And this is where it's different, by the way, in keeping the stats. Europe and Canada are the same, but the U.S. doesn't count 15-year-olds without a job. So the numbers, you've got to make careful comparisons there. But here's the point anyways to understand. Our leaders' toolbox is empty. There have been multi-trillion-dollar explosion in government debt and spending since the subprime crisis. We got record low interest rates, including negative rates throughout Europe and Japan, and that unprecedented creation of money under quantitative easing. But what have we got? Flatlining growth, always accompanied by projections that it's going to get better soon. They'll be right at some point, by the way, because after enough declines, it's not easy to show a positive upturn. It's like if we had housing starts and it was so bad it dropped to just one home constructed. But the next quarter, 2 homes were built. Well, the stats would show a 100% increase, but of course the industry would still be a disaster. This is a problem that you won't hear or read about anywhere else, and it's the big problem. I have no doubt that every government, regardless of ideological bent, once they get in government, wants to see more growth, but they have no idea what to do. Hence, they continue to recommend more of the same, just like we've seen in Canada. But the inadequacy of the big government intervention model is already on full display. Come on, you got the collapse of Venezuela. You got double-digit unemployment and economic stagnation in Europe. At some point, don't we have to wake up and answer the question that if governments could snap their policy fingers and produce jobs and economic growth, as they all promise, then why haven't they been able to? Of course, big government advocates on the progressive left, I see them on the CBC panels, public sector elites, others in organized labor, editorial writers, political commentators, school teachers. Well, they don't know the answer. They have no idea, so they ignore the question. And instead, they just push for more of the same, more government intervention. What's going on here is far more profound than the overused cliche, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. How many times have voters fallen for the same old promises, only to be disappointed? Devastated, actually, if you're one of the unemployed, which right now runs about 1.75 million in Canada if you count all the people who are unemployed. So why haven't the record low interest rates, the unprecedented quantitative easing, the valued currency in every country save the U.S., look at Canada, 25% discount, and record government spending worked? Well, at the risk of getting all economic on you, let me give you 3 reasons. Stay with me, because if you understand this, you'll be way ahead of every elected official in the country, including the finance minister. 1, contrary to what politicians and the mainstream media suggest, especially during campaigns, governments don't control the economy. That's absurd. They don't control export demand. They don't control the loonies value. They don't control the price of oil and other commodities. And those are all key to the Canadian economy. 2, governments are administering the wrong medicine. Now, this is really economic-y on me. Our problem is a supply shock called, really lower oil and resource prices. and you don't solve a supply shock through government spending or record low interest rates. I mean, we've got notable economists like Canada's Nobel Prize winner Robert Mundell, Laval's economist Stephen Gordon, Global Macro's Ted Carmichael. They're all commenting on the ineffectiveness of deficit spending in an open, that's key, flexible exchange rate economy like Canada. We're suffering a supply shock. They're applying the wrong medicine. And 3, listen to this and think about it. The only suggestion that our political establishment can come up with is more of them. More government, more spending, more bureaucrats. That's the starting point for all suggestions. They say the status quo must remain intact and then we'll add to it. That is a hell of a problem. I mean, government is the problem. We don't need more government. We don't need more cronyism, more unaccountability, more special favors. If we want to enhance long-term economic growth and unemployment, then we need a dramatic change to the operational structure of government. That's not on the table. To labor laws, to public school curriculum, certainly not on the table. We need to enhance adult education to help workers adjust and learn new skills. We have a desperate need to revamp and get rid of useless regulations that discourage economic growth. Not on the table. But you know what that means? It means if we don't want to change the status quo, don't expect the economic growth prospects to change.